T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
I'm a survivor. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna work harder.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lunchin with Lisa. Hello. How is everybody this evening? I wanted to first welcome everybody I wanted to welcome everybody to Lunchin with Lisa. We come on every Thursday, 7 to 8. And this night is especially important to me because this month is actually Breast Cancer Awareness and Domestic Violence Awareness Month, along with, I think, bullying. But I wanted to acknowledge these important awareness months because I think people kind of, especially with what's going on now, people have kind of lost sight of some of the things that we usually give. We can't do our walks. We can't do our things that we do to support each other. So I wanted to make sure I had some inspiring guests come on here this evening and just share their stories and just some real life, information and inspiration about how they got through what they went through, and just inspire others. Because I know, especially now, people are probably terrified with these same situations now because they have that on top of not being able to go to the doctor the same way and just all kinds of things. So I wanted to do some introductions real quick, and then we're just going to get into a conversation. And I want you all to kind of share your journeys. So I want to introduce, we have first Latoya Palmer, who is here to serve. And I forgot to mention, I have a co-host with me, Camden. Say hello, Camden. He's busy cleaning his mouth, but he's joining me this week because I'm on GG duty. Okay, that's enough. But we're going to introduce our guest first. Latoya Palmer is here to serve. She has gone from generational welfare to six figures, from incest survivor who hated herself to an empowerment specialist, helping women build their confidence, ignite their magic, and manifest their dreams. Latoya is a mom of four, an author, speaker, founder of Phoenix Rising Success Coaching and Training, certified peak performance, and law of attraction coach. Despite all of it, she is here today, thriving, sharing her story, and inspiring others to ignite and live a full life. During her fight with breast cancer, she self-published her first book, Ignite: A Single Mother's Guide to Success, Sensuality, and Achieving Your Dreams. She was a keynote speaker for multiple events, won the Unbreakable Spirit Award, led a Beauty in the Battle campaign during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, co-authored Release the Debt: Inspirational Testaments of Strength and Purpose, a woman's empowerment book, which became an international and national Amazon bestseller and was featured in magazines including Impact the World, Kish, and the Unbreakable Woman Leaders magazine. Latoya lives with her children in Maryland and is committed to helping women ignite their passion and manifest their goals no matter what. Welcome, Latoya, to the show.
Thank you.
Amen.
I also want to introduce, I have author, success coach, certified master life coach, Dr. Benita Parker. International best-selling author, success coach, and certified master life coach, Benita Parker is purposeful and extremely gifted at helping entrepreneurs build success business brands using their unique superpowers. I love the word superpowers. Her commitment and dedication to the success of women in business is what drives her. Her natural talent for creating safe, relatable environments is how she moves her clients through breakthrough and transformation as they tap into their personal gifts. Known for her go getter spirit and no nonsense approach to business, she pushes her clients to move past fear and limited beliefs that blocks their progression and threatens their success journey. She is also the CEO of Beauty by Bonita, an exclusive vegan cosmetics and skincare product line that she started after undergoing her own battle with stage 4 metastatic how do you say that for me?
Metastatic.
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 Metastatic. Okay. Metastatic breast cancer disease in 2018. She has been featured in the Chicago Tribune, Atlanta Journal, Sheen Magazine, Coco Fab Magazine, Influence Magazine, and Miss CEO Magazine, to name a few. Please welcome Dr. Bonita Parker to the show.
Hello, hello.
We
Hello.
also have Reverend Henrietta S. Clements, who has a legacy as a servant leader. She journeyed in information technology in her lengthy career, 30 plus years, implementing software systems and on many platforms and in several computer language database systems in many private and government agencies. Today, she is married to a man of God, fashioned for her, and she continues to love on her young adult children and grandchildren, loves to travel, and so much more. She recognizes the importance of affirmation and encouragement, living as a role model, supporting others in accountability, sharing, lending a listening ear, and spiritual growth. Please welcome Henrietta Clements to the show. And we're welcoming Tony Fowler Duggar. I want to share. I didn't have a bio for Tony, but Tony does so many things. So she's being humble, but she's a go-getter as well. And Tony has several businesses. There's a latest business that's called Bees. Is it Bees in the Trap?
I love it.
I love it.
But she also has put on many, many, many events for awareness for all of these events. I mean, things that we're talking about today. Domestic violence, breast cancer awareness. She's done many, many things to support the community. She actually is in Atlanta, but she was in DC. So she actually travels to put on these events for everybody. She brings people together for fitness, for lupus. She actually is a real, motivator for lupus. So Tony has been through some things, and she's down here in Atlanta. She's in Atlanta. That's where my mother is. So she's still home. But thank you so much, Tony, for joining the show. I welcome all of you all to Lunchin with Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I want us to get into sharing some of your stories. Now, what I did was I invited two people that have been through breast cancer. And I also invited two people who had been through some domestic violence. Now, I'll tell you personally, this means a lot to me because although I did not, I haven't experienced either. What I did experience was I started taking the exam early before they were supposed to, and didn't expect to find anything with breast cancer. And actually, after my exam, I was asked to go into another room, and I was kind of confused, like, why do I need to do this? And found out that they found a lump. And what I did find out about the process was they actually treat you. They treat you as if you're a breast cancer patient before they get the results. So I had to change my diet. I had to do all kinds of things, and the stress level went straight out the roof because I had no way to know what to expect. I had to go through surgery and things like that. So I do, on some level understand. So if I went through that and and I have never experienced it, in real life, I know that it has to be really scary. And for that reason, I actually, for 3 years in the past, I have done the 39-mile walk with Avon. And I did it. It was one of the most empowering things I have ever done. And so that is my connection with breast cancer and with domestic violence. And I've seen, I've been around people who have gone through things. I've been there for my friends when things have happened. And it's just so important that we keep the lines of communication open. So I want you all to kind of share some signs that people can look for, and just your journey and how you got to the other side of this, and what you can offer people who, especially during these times, that could be something that's really going on around here, and people can't reach out to other people and talk about it because of COVID. So let me start with, and I'm gonna start with Latoya. I know you have to leave a little early, but Latoya, share with us a little bit about your journey. I love the Ignite. That's straight fire. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how it brought you to where you are now.
Yeah. So Ignite, it grew as a result of my diagnosis. I share with people that the journey to even getting my diagnosis took a lot of stamina, a lot of patience, a lot of fortitude and courage. It took them about 2 months to diagnose me. And when they did diagnose me, or by the time they diagnosed me, my lump went from 2 centimeters to 12 centimeters in 2 months. And that's how aggressive it was.
Wow.
And so I always encourage people to stay steadfast. Do not let the doctors turn you away. Like, Lisa, I'm so excited to hear that they treated you as if you had breast cancer before you got your diagnosis. It was the exact opposite experience for me. I had multiple biopsies, multiple scans before they could even, diagnose me. So going through the procedures, the chemotherapy, the 4 surgeries, it sucked the life out of me, and there were times where I couldn't even get up from my living room to walk to the bathroom. I couldn't hold a conversation with you without having to stop, catch my breath, remember what I was about to say to you. Like you, I had to change my whole diet in order to strengthen myself for the journey. But I remember one day asking God, if you bring me through this, I will do whatever I need to do to help women gain their passion. I will do whatever I need to do to help people remember who they truly are. Because the only way I got through that journey was by remembering who I am. By having people on my side like Dr. Benita Parker, who also went through her journey, helping me remember who I am. And so when you talk about being in this time, COVID, it's already a lonely experience having breast cancer, because you think that no one else understands. You're going through so much, and you can't even articulate what you're going through because it's something that you've never imagined that you would experience, right? And so you couple that with COVID, and it's deadly. The isolation alone can be deadly. And so I love, how you started, people knowing that it's okay to reach out, knowing that it's okay to call on someone. Behind the scenes, we were talking about being afraid to go to the doctor. It is so important that we do what we have to do to build up the courage, protect ourselves, of course, to get to the doctor. We have to have our scans. We have to let our doctors know what's going on with our bodies. I remember when I first felt the lump, and I told them it was something different. I've never felt it before. And they said, oh, it's a cyst. And I'm like, nah, man, this is not a cyst. And they would not listen. And I had to keep going back, persistent, insistent that they give me the test that I need so they could help me save my life. And so getting out to the doctor early when you find that there's something off with your body is truly, truly, truly important. And I know I went a little bit off topic, but I just get passionate about just getting out.
Well, Yeah, not only that, but you mentioned that to not be scared, because I think it happens a lot of times when you go to the doctor and they tell you something, and sometimes people are fearful to push back because
Yeah.
they feel a certain way, and whether it's in their spirit or something is just telling them that this is not right. And I think people are sometimes are scared to say, no, I need you to go back and check this again, or no, do something else and double check. And you mentioned that don't be scared to do that,
Yeah.
because I've lost family members to something because they said this wasn't working for them. And
Mm.
sometimes the doctor would say, well, just get off of it for a little bit and then try it again. And it was too late the second time around. She,
Wow.
all of her organs failed her. So yeah, it's important to not you're not second guessing them, but you're actually just going off of your instinct. And if something doesn't feel right, then check it
That's
out,
right. That's right.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
get an advocate. I didn't
Yes.
hear, Dr. Benita Parker has a foundation called Hope for Pink foundation.org. And in this foundation, she has sisters to pair up and
Mm,
reach out to each other to support one another as they're going through their cancer battle. And connections like that are so important and will help get you through the journey as well.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I want to I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. Benita, we're gonna come back to you to kind of further that conversation. But I wanted to share, Tony, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about domestic violence. And I know you are an advocate for so many things. And you are true inspiration on all levels. I know she's humble about it, but I people pay attention. And
Mm.
I wanted to share, you have shared your story before, and it was just so moving, and the strength that you've shown getting through that. I just think this should be shared with people, and to let others know that this is not the end of this situation. It's just a moment in this, and you can get through it. So share a little bit about your journey.
Well, thank you for having me, Lisa. My journey with domestic violence started at the age of 16. I'm part of that age group where domestic violence isn't really talked about
Hmm.
for that age. So I went through it from the age of 16 to 21.
Mm.
And the misconception that people have is that the person, your abuser, instantly starts to hit you or get aggressive with you. And for me, that was not my situation. He started doing all of the things that young girls at that age like. He supported me financially. He always wanted to be with me. He always wanted to hang out and do things. But that was part of the abuse. That was him isolating me from my friends and from my family, and pretty much making it so I had the understanding that I needed him and not them.
Mm,
And
Mm.
throughout the years, it started to become physical. So he had already, abused me emotionally. He had already abused me mentally. Now the physical part was coming in. And once it started physically, I literally was having conversations with myself like, this can't be life. I
right.
heard the conversation from my mother. A man is not supposed to hit you. I witnessed my father abusing my
Mm,
mother. So I knew
right.
from the first time it was wrong. I
Hmm.
knew that from the first time it was not going to stop. But for me, and I can only speak for myself personally, he was like the knight in shining armor into other people's eyes. So it was almost like, she's lying. What is she doing to him? What is she
Oh.
doing or saying that's making him act this way? So I kept it a secret for a very long time, which I don't suggest anybody do.
Hmm.
First time it should be the last time. And honestly, my get out story was not heroic in any way. It was actually because he literally coerced me to come see him, and he began beating me immediately because it had took him so long to get me to come over to where he was. And he literally said, "You're going to die today."
Wow.
And as he was beating me, I ended up stabbing him. And from there, life changed.
Mhm.
I had to move from, a
Mhm.
lot of people don't, well, they know now, but they didn't know in the beginning. I'm not from the DMV area. I was born and
Okay.
raised in Jersey City, New Jersey. I ended
Okay.
up in the DMV trying to get away from him. Even
Mm.
after the stabbing, after me going to jail, him refusing to press charges. But by this time, the court is pressed, like I'm going against the state. The state is pressing charges against me. Oh, and he was a police officer.
Oh
So yeah,
wow.
I'm calling the police on the police. So that didn't help at all.
Right.
So when he started to burglarize my mother's house, he started to sit across the street in his car and basically follow me everywhere. My mother said, I have to get you out of here or he's really going to kill you. So she put me on a Greyhound bus, August 8th, 1992.
It's
She put
okay.
me
We
on the
got you.
bus to go to Baltimore. I ended up in Baltimore. No friends, no family, just myself and my 3-year-old son. I hated Baltimore. So I begged my mother if I could move a little bit further down, which I ended up, in the DMV area. And I began the lie of becoming who I was not. I could not tell people where I was from. I could not tell people where I went to school because I didn't know if he would have people to follow me or to what
Okay.
extent he would do or go through to find me. So for
Right.
years, people, they say, where are you from? The DMV. Where are you from? DC. I never, ever, ever said Jersey until honestly a year ago. And that's because he's
Wow.
deceased now. I found out he was deceased, so I felt safe with saying where I was really from. So I changed my background bio on all of my social media that says
Ooh.
Jersey born, DMV raised, ATL grinding, because I'm in the DMV by myself. I left everything I knew and loved all to get away from him. And it
Right.
literally started at the age of 16. Um, he kidnapped my son. I've had a broken nose. I've had broken bones. I've had several injuries that I would hide by wearing long sleeves. I always wore shades. I never made eye contact with anyone because to him that was flirting. So I didn't want to give off the impression that I was flirting or doing anything that would cause any extra attention to myself. And I'm just now, within the past year or two, coming out of that. Of
Okay.
course, I've had the conversations with my daughter that abuse is never okay. The first time will be the last time. There's nothing, I don't love any man more than I love myself.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even though those feelings of fear and intimidation was recognizable because I felt that from my father and mother, I
Mhm.
would never want my daughter or my sons to feel that. Never
Yeah.
think that it's okay. And honestly, because I was used to hiding pain, that also delayed my diagnosis with lupus. I was used to
Oh,
acting
okay.
like I wasn't in pain. So even
Okay.
when I was in pain, I didn't act like I was in pain. The migraines that came from being hit in the head multiple times. The shifting of my teeth come from being punched in the jaw multiple times. My fear of guns come from having a gun pulled on me multiple times. So
Right.
I survived it. I never say I'm a victim of domestic violence. I say I'm a survivor of domestic violence.
Mhm.
I've told my story probably more times than I ever wanted to. And last year, Sister Mildred Muhammad, whom I've become very close friends with, she challenged us to ask the question: stop asking survivors, why did you stay? Ask
Right.
abusers, why do they abuse?
Mhm.
And I wrote a whole post about that on Instagram.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to me, several survivors tagged their abusers on my post and asked them, why did you abuse me?
Wow. That's powerful.
Totally not the response I was expecting,
Oh.
but I had 5 different women that did that. And
Wow.
every year I say I'm not going to talk about it anymore. You guys are tired of hearing it. And every year I get the same request. I need to hear more. Tell me more. Don't stop
Well,
talking.
and that's why I reached out to you too, because I think on social, and we've known each other for years.
Yes.
And know, connected through, deep friendships and family and stuff. So I did not know your story. And then one day when you shared it, and when you mentioned something about that people get tired of hearing it, there's always somebody that needs that story. And I know sometimes it gets hard, but and that's why I asked first when I reached out to you, are you okay with doing that? Because I don't know where people are. But at the same time, there's somebody who needs to know everything that you just said. They need to know that. And I too was a victim of some things and didn't share it for till I was 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So and that will eat at you because you didn't share it, but at the same time, the question came, well, why didn't you? And it's a horrible question, but people ask you. I'm prepared to answer because everybody has a different answer on why.
Right.
And I think that what you shared was just to remind people that you can't assume that you know how this is supposed to play out, how it was supposed to end, and people don't really get it. Every story is very different. So people do the best they can in their situation. And the worst question you can ask people is why this or why that, just get to how you can help. What difference does it make? Why is kind of like what I want to know sometimes. But and I think we lost Latoya because she has to leave at 7:30. But we're going to come back to you some more. But thank you for sharing this, because I think that sharing it is what people need to hear. They just need to hear the raw stories about what happens. There's somebody out there that's dealing with the same things, the signs that you mentioned, where everybody is sweet and they're nice and they do everything you want them to do. It makes it scary, but it's real. So you're not going to,
real.
the person is not wearing horns and they're not wearing a cape and, none of those things that you envision as the evil person. It's rarely that. And we've heard all of the things of what you're not supposed to do. And still sometimes I kind of envision that moment where a lot of people say, how did I get in this position? Because I know what to look for. And then you realize you're in it. It's already done. So thank you for sharing that. Benita, I wanted to move to you with the breast cancer, and then we're going to go to Elder Henrietta. But with the breast cancer, I think you and Latoya actually were going through this somewhere around the same time. So tell us a little bit about your journey, and what got you through. Because y'all are so strong, and I think that people need to see the strength behind the story. You're on mute. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, here I go. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So first and foremost, Lisa, thank you so much for choosing me and selecting me to engage your audience with such a delicate matter. Breast cancer is very, very, very huge in the Black community right now. It seems like every time I turn around, someone is telling me that they have received a diagnosis. So for me, I was actually diagnosed in December of 2017, and it was confirmed in January. After, just like Latoya, you go through a series of mammograms, sonograms, scans, et cetera, et cetera. I actually found my lump myself. So I discovered my lump one day in the shower, and it was crazy because I am usually extremely diligent about my mammograms. Never miss an appointment, always on time. And it's every September, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this particular September in 2017, I had just finished my Unmask Yourself conference, and I wasn't even having that mammogram was the furthest thing from my mind. One, because I never thought that I would get breast cancer. It was like, okay, it doesn't run in my family. Nobody has it. It's no way. That's the last thing that I'm thinking about getting. High blood pressure or something like that, maybe. Breast cancer, never. So I kind of, put it to the side, went on about my days, months, whatever. Next thing I know, it was December. And literally, like, I was in the shower one night, and I'm washing, and you know how you get a signal, right? So something in me was just like, Benita, check your breasts, right? And I'm washing and I'm like, wait a minute, I missed my mammogram. Okay, let me check my breasts. And I finished showering, got out the shower, and I stood in the mirror. And believe it or not, it was the first spot that I touched. And because I know my body, that was a thing for me. I felt it and I was like, wait a minute. Wait, no, wait, what is that? Okay, wait, let me lay down. Let me do it the right way. Let me, put my arm up, etc. And lo and behold, it was there. And what a lot of people don't know is like I also suffer from anxiety. So I went into a full-blown anxiety attack. Couldn't breathe, like crying, like everything. Something in me just told me it was breast cancer because I'm never abnormal, like about anything dealing with my body. And I remember like trying to make it downstairs because that's where my honey was at, trying to make it downstairs. I'm crying profusely and he was on a conference call and I just collapsed on him and I'm sobbing. He got off the call and I was trying to tell him like what was going on, but I couldn't get the words out. I just cried for like 30 minutes. Right. And then finally I was like, I have a lump. And he just held me and like, we are not married. So what was really like just such a blessing for me was to hear him say, just as a man who I'm dating at the time, like, don't worry about anything. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to get through this together. Right. And I was just like, oh my God, it gave me a relief, but at the same time I was scared. So that next day he just sprung into action. Like he called my doctors for me. My OBGYN immediately got me in. And it was a quick process for me. Unlike with Latalia, like they didn't draw it out. It was literally like a week or 2 week time period between the moment I felt the lump to the moment I actually got the final results back. So I was happy about that they were really fast. So that's the thing that I want to kind of lend to everybody. First and foremost, know your body. Don't be afraid to touch yourself, right? Don't be afraid to touch yourself because that's the only way you're going to know like when something feels wrong. And so that's the absolute first thing that I want to convey to people. After I got diagnosed, I went through, and me, I have stage 4 triple negative metastatic breast cancer. That means that the breast cancer had spread into my lymph nodes and also to my lung area. And triple negative is the one rare form of breast cancer that they have not found a cure for. So I do not call myself a survivor. I call myself a thriver because this is a diagnosis that I will be living with, right? 97% of women do not make it with this diagnosis. And it usually recurs within the 2-year mark. So I'm blessed to say that I celebrated my 2-year mark. No active cancer in July. So
Amen.
Yeah. So with that, they say I have to get to 5 years. If I can get to 5 years and no cancer, then chances are it will not come back, and I can then say I'm a survivor. So I'm looking forward to that point. It was rough. Chemotherapy, radiation, surgery after surgery after surgery, and then just living in fear, right? For me, for somebody like with anxiety, every doctor's appointment was torture. I have to get scanned every 3 months because this is a rare aggressive cancer. So I have to get scanned every 3 months as well as have mammograms and sonograms every 3 months. So and that's for 5 years. So it's a little, it's a thing, right?
That's a lot, right?
It's a whole lot. So during COVID, just not being able to get to my doctors, they had to extend my appointments out. And when they did get me in, it was a thing where like no one could go with me. Even when I had to have surgeries and things like that, It was such a protective environment for cancer patients. But I was nerve wracked. Like I was on anxiety because I kept, like, I need to get in. I need to get my test. I need to get my scans. Like, I don't want something to
Right.
pop up. I don't, and I live like that, and sometimes I just have to dial back and say, you know what, let me just focus on my self-care. I had to change my diet. I had to, exercise. I had to do all of that stuff to just try to keep myself together, and my system strong. And that was
Right.
the key. Even now, 2 years later, I'm still dealing with the after effects of treatment of the cancer, because that chemotherapy, like, it eats away at you.
Hmm.
I lost all muscle mass in my body. And it literally, like, destroyed the muscles around my knees and everything like that. So I'm in physical therapy right now, 2 years
Okay.
later for that. And just like Latalia said, like, it was days where you just couldn't move.
Right. Yeah.
You didn't have the energy to walk, talk, do anything, right? So it is definitely not anything that one person should go through alone. And like she said, I have my Hope for Pink Foundation, which I
Mhm.
just love. I talk to women on a regular basis on social media, on the phone for hours. I'm just, trying to get them through it. We have a program called the Pink Sister Program, where we
Okay.
pair survivors with current warriors who have just received a diagnosis, just to kind of help them through the process and support them. Moral support is everything in
Yes.
this journey. Um,
Yeah.
Without that, like, you literally cannot get through it. And so that's the second thing that I want to offer people. Make sure that you have a support team to rally around you, to bring you food, to make you laugh, to go with you to your doctor's appointments, just to talk to or cry with, or just to come give you a hug, right?
Right.
um,
Right.
Make sure you have that support system. The other thing too is make sure that your mind stays positive. A lot of people don't realize that our body responds to the way our mind thinks and the things that we tell ourselves. And so
Right.
every day, I was in treatment for a year. Every day for a year, the first thing that I did when I woke up, in the morning, I thanked God for waking me up. And then I just chanted, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm whole, I'm healed, faithfully every day. I told my body that I was healed, and I was whole. And I just held God accountable. Um, I'm from the South, so I grew up where we are not to question God, right? Let God do his work. You do not question God. For some reason, I couldn't do that with this journey, because I wanted to know why he chose me to go through this when there's no other person in my family with this disease. And it was like, why me? Like, what did I do? Right? Like,
Right.
why me? Um, and so after that point, it was just like, I had to hold him accountable to his words of healing and restoration. And that's what I did. Whenever I felt bad, I was just like, God, you promised. Like, God, this is what you said. If I did this, this is what you will do, right? And so I held
Right.
him accountable. And that got me through. With Beauty by Bonita, I realized, and I had to do my own research. That's another thing. Don't necessarily hear your doctors, but don't necessarily take their word as law. Doctors can be wrong, right? Doctors, especially with breast cancer, everybody is treated across the board the same way. Whether you're a stage 2, a stage 4, you're going to get the same amount of treatment in your body, especially with chemotherapy and everything like that. One
Mhm.
thing that I did was I became very diligent with learning everything I could about my diagnosis. I researched galore to the point where I was able to challenge my doctor or ask my doctor the right questions to get the answers that I needed regarding my treatment. And so, what a lot of people don't know is I stopped my treatment because I knew my body, and I knew that the level of treatment that they were giving me was affecting my healthy cells. At some
Mm.
point, yes, it did its job, but because I had so many sessions of treatment that I felt was unnecessary, I stopped it. And my oncologist pulled me to the side, and she talked to me in private, and she said, I am so happy that you made the decision to stop this treatment, because medically, I could not do that for you. I could not say, okay, Benita, enough treatment. I'm not going to give you any more medicine. That has to come from the patient. But you were diligent enough, and you knew your body enough, and you knew what your body felt like to say, okay, doc, this is enough. I'm stopping. And that's what
Right.
I did. I just then stepped out on faith. What I was going to say was that took me to Beauty by Bonita, because in that research, I was trying to figure out, how did I get it? And I came to the conclusion that it had to have been something in the products that I was using, in, the food that I was putting in my body. Something caused my internal, makeup to just act a fool, basically. Something caused that. There's so many products out there that have the paraffins and all that stuff, the toxins that cause cancer, that we don't realize, and a lot of well-known brand names. And so that's what made me start Beauty by Bonita, because I like makeup, I like lipstick, I like skincare. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a brand that women can feel safe using. They can feel good about the products that they're putting on their body, and know that they will not affect them negatively. And that's what Beauty by Bonita does. So along with that, and my foundation, I thank God for the journey, because it opened me up in a whole different way.
Well,
It,
and I wanted to mention, because Benita and I have known each other for a while, and actually this is the first time, because we've never had that opportunity to really talk. Um, and find, I think the most sweet conversation we had was, I said, well, if you need anything, let me know, and I'm here. Because I know when you're in the heat of things, you don't have time to explain, catch up, none of that stuff. So this is the first time I'm actually getting a lot of, what your journey was, but I'm seeing the end result in all of the things that you are doing. And I know it's in you. I knew it was in you. I was like, oh, whatever's going on, Benita got this.
yeah.
She
Look, she
got
gonna
this.
fight. She gonna fight.
That's right. I know. Look, if I don't know nothing else, I was like, oh no, they don't know what they working with Benita, because she is gonna make
Right.
sure she do the right things. But I am so appreciative of you sharing the story, because I know I watched the journey here and there, and it gets
Yeah.
frustrating as people who watch, because we don't know what to do. And sometimes
Yeah.
just letting you know we're there. So I wanted to go back around to everybody. At some point, we're going to reach out to Elder Henrietta and share your story. But in the end, I wanted to ask everybody, what is it that you need from people when you're going through these things? When, like when Tony was sharing when she was going through it, because and sometimes you may not know, but maybe, to help people who are there or around other people that are going through this, what is it that you think you might have needed to help you through that, so that some of us can help others? And then if, whatever comes our way, what we can deal with, you kind of shared what you went through, and to encourage people on how to get through it. But Elder Henriette, I wanted to reach out to you and share a little bit about your story and what you went through, because Cameron's going to be quiet now and listen. Stop.
It's all good. It's all good. I just want to start off saying thank you very much, Elisa, for inviting me. And to these strong ladies, oh, these strong women, I just thank God that I got to hear your story. And I encourage you to just keep on pressing on into what you know God has called you to do in your lives. My sister Altonia, okay? I was listening to your story, and all of a sudden I got lost over there, because, I want to go to the good port who said, but still like dust, I'll rise. So in spite of what it might look like today, we are sitting right here looking at each other, and we can see that out of the past, there's rooted in a lot of pain in different areas that still, I like to say, that's my part, and still I rise. So we can be that black ocean and we can be leaping and excited today. And we can bear more than we think we can. And if I may, Lisa, by the grace of God, we still rise.
Amen.
I'm excited myself, but you know what? I'm depending on the young lady I've never met before, Altonia. I need your help, okay? Because what I'm going to talk about to me is only by the grace of God that I can sit before you. That sometimes we have walked through some valleys and we don't even know. I don't know why. I wasn't 16, 17. I was an adult, but I had lived or been reared in what I'll call a sheltered environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I never ever knew that I could be one who could say I had a journey from hell. Okay. I couldn't believe that I could tell you that I knew right from wrong, but I was sleeping with the enemy. That everybody else was looking at sister girl here who came from, and I'm going to say it, a church family, you know what I mean? Always striving to do the right thing, and I couldn't tell anybody. I wasn't in my hometown now. I was not in Southern Virginia. I was in Northern Virginia. But even in Northern Virginia, things do go wrong. You can't misjudge people because I didn't know the characteristics. I didn't know what to look for because it looked like a, fairly reasonable gentleman who wanted to, be just nice to me. And I thought that was good. And then things turned around. I couldn't believe that you could be in corporate America making good money. Okay. I'm talking about in IT, thinking you understand people. You are trying to understand people because you're doing business. Companies are making money off of your head, the things you think. You've been in a think tank, and you go in a think tank, and then when you come out, you know the phone has rang or there's a message, and you're like, "What's the problem?" Or where have you been because you didn't answer my call? So I went through a lot of that. I thought that was horrible. People who you can't go to the marketplace because if you go in the marketplace, obviously you were meeting somebody in there because you didn't come out in time, or you didn't get home from work on time because you must have been out with somebody else. Oh, you going to church again? Oh yeah, it must be the preacher at that church. And then the preacher, the pastor of the church, comes to you and says, do you know a man by the name of? And I'm like, well, yeah. Well, how do you know him? Because he don't come here. Now you got to deal with it from the past, and then you got to deal with it when you get back home. And yeah, like I told you, remember, don't forget, I'm sleeping with the enemy. I know better. I knew better. But when things got rough and I couldn't keep on doing all of those things, I mean, it's a whole lot of church journey I can tell you about, but I won't waste that kind of time. But I will tell you a little bit about what I call post-traumatic syndrome. There's a disorder out there, I think. And I think that anybody who's gone through some rough enough stuff, you might be dealing with that PTSD that everybody don't want to talk about. Because trouble causes things with our mind. It messes with our heart. We don't know. And you're like, okay, but why can't you just tell this man to leave you alone and go? So you move. And then you have to move again. So the next move was to leave Virginia and move to Maryland. Okay? Because maybe he won't know where you are. Hello? Oh, well, how about make sure the alarm system, you got a pad in most rooms so you can hit the panic button at any point in time. How about always making sure you got extra security on your doors and windows and only to wake up and realize that I had bought a house next door to a detective and police are all around the area. I started to feel safe. I was safe. But I won't tell you the whole story yet. Let me just tell you where the hurt comes. That hurt that I'm talking about right now is that hurt that says that even today, 30 years later, I'm telling you, it's not over just because you're young. It keeps on showing up. It shows up with my children. They're young adults. Yeah, they are. They're young adults, but the hurt comes because you have Father's Day. You have graduations. You can't have one graduation party. You got to have two because one daddy can come. But the
Mm.
family one, you try to keep it closed because you don't want any incidents. Then you choose to have it in a public restaurant because the restaurant will kick them out and you don't have to fight. Okay? Oh, life's been rough. And then you have your grandchildren, and your grandchildren are still here. I am 30 years later, and I've got the grandchildren, but the grandchildren cannot have the same level of bonding because I'm afraid.
Right.
I am afraid. I am afraid it will affect my grandchildren. Children, when you see, I was brought up with my mama and my dad, and I like to call them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
How can grandchildren not understand what's going on? How can this be? You know, you don't explain it to them. You try to walk that walk in front of them that life can be different, but it's what God has ordained for my life. Okay? Because I know there's a plot twist to all of this, that we're all going to be built up as a
Yes.
result of this. We're not going to sit here idly and not know what's going to happen next. Even when you start looking at, you know, the moving and the running and being in a police station when you don't know anything about it, because I was brought up sheltered.
Yeah.
People didn't fight at my house. My parents didn't even drink. Hello? So, you know, all of this stuff is kind of like strange, is what I called it. But I know there is a God.
Mm-hmm.
There is a God who set me up when I bought that house out in Maryland, that I might be able to move on. I've had my hair was white, not because of me, but because of baby powder. When you fight coming down the stairwell and they grab the baby powder and cover your hair with it, you don't know which way to go. I found myself cornered in my kitchen of my townhouse. Yes, I did. And I reached in the drawer and I said, if you kill me, I'm going to. If you don't kill me, I'm going to kill you. I never thought that I could get in a situation where I was willing to strike out at somebody like that. I grabbed the butcher knife. And I'm standing there saying, you come close, I will kill you. And you know what? I think I meant it. Hello? Pain. But thank God my oldest daughter upstairs called the police.
Mm-hmm.
She's stumping and acting a complete fool up there. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with her? She needs to hide and lock the babies up. But the police came in, guns pulled all in my house. I had never seen the police come in my house. Hello, do you understand that everything that looks good, you don't get there without some pain sometime? Sister Lisa, my dear, I have never shared my story. And I knew when the question came to me about being on this show that it was time.
Mm-hmm.
It was time to stop hiding. It's time. It's time to tell the world that there are people who we are looking at every day and are assuming that they're okay. And
Yes.
they're looking over their shoulder. They're
Yes.
looking to the left and they're looking to the right. And guess what? They're just going to work to do their job to get their paycheck. Hello? And there are
Yes.
these crazy people out here, people who we do not understand. I come to you saying that if you think about it, COVID-19, the pandemic, where people were not able to go to work. People didn't have a job they could go to. I wish I didn't believe it, but I believe in my heart of hearts that there are fights over little simple things about not cooking the eggs correct. There are fights about the children getting everything. You know we can't afford this. You need to go to work, but you don't have a job to go to. There
Mm-hmm.
are situations that people go through, especially when they wake up and realize they don't have the money to do that which is necessary. If they act crazy when they have what they believe they deserve, then you know what they must act like when they don't. But I thank God because you know what? He brought me out. He brought me out. I will say that this hurt, this pain, my children are walking in this valley with me. They have
Mhm.
always been on my left and my right. They will push me forward because we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And we
Amen.
don't have to, everybody else may not understand, and who is all right. It's not important. It's more important for me to walk in the assignment that God has given me. And I believe this journey where I kept telling you, and still I rise, it's
Mhm.
because God knows somebody's going to be blessed because of the things we do, that the many things we go through that may be negative. It may cause tears to come out of our eyes. It may be pain that we've got to walk through in our valley, that God is in the midst and that He's going to bear us up. So I stand on the word of God. And yes, I didn't mean to turn this into a little church
Oh
service, but
no,
I'm
you
going
go
to tell
ahead.
you right now that
You
is
go
only
ahead.
God. I pray for those people who are out there with the struggle and you don't know which way to turn because you don't have anybody you can really tell your heart to. And when you tell your heart, they don't understand. But
Right.
I pray that tonight, that some contacts will be shared,
Mhm.
that you will know that God doesn't want you to be in pain. God doesn't want you to be that way. He is a God of love. He loves each of us. Even with the ugly look on my face and the tears running out of my eyes, He loves me. And every once in a while, I've got to also do the same thing, but I sing a little song, and I know I'm getting very childish with you, but I'll tell you this. Every
No, no.
once in a while, I had to sing, Jesus loves me. I
Mhm.
don't care what anybody else says or how much pain I'm in. I know who loves me, and He loves me unconditionally, okay?
Yes.
And then in the morning, I had to learn to have positive affirmations because this is the day the Lord has made. I will. I don't care what I feel like when I wake up in the morning, but I will. Oh, yeah, I'm going to rejoice in Him because I might not be able to rejoice in anything else, but I can rejoice in Him.
Oh,
So this is the day.
oh.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. This is the day that the Lord hath made, and I shall rejoice. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. You don't
So
know.
much. Yes.
I think
God
somebody
bless
need. I mean,
you.
this happened for a reason, and somebody needed to hear that, and they need to hear it that way. And I thank you for sharing your story here. Because I didn't know what to expect, but I wanted to make sure that you were comfortable. And I think just like you, that you get messages and downloads, and you don't know why. You don't know until you get into the moment, and you're like, okay, I know why I was here today. Okay, I know why the combination was made. I think people, the connection with you and Tony, I'm hoping that maybe you all can, stay connected with each other. And I want to
Mhm.
encourage people that, like you said, there are people walking around here going through diagnosis like what Benita went through. There are people going around here dealing with domestic violence and not saying anything. And I think that it's our job, Camden, that's enough. I think that it's our job to let people know that it's okay to talk about it.
Yes.
And I think we spend too
Yes.
much time just saying, "Oh, okay, sorry to hear that," those kind of things, instead of what do you need? How can I help? Or I'm just here. I know
Yeah.
I have even posted when somebody shares something and just said, I'm here if you need me. And it doesn't mean that I know them personally and we got each other's phone number, but I'm here if you need us to exchange numbers and have that conversation. We need to let each other know that we're here. That's what this is all about.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate all of you all for sharing your story, because it's hard to share stories about things that even now what you all are dealing with is still a daily thing. It's not like it's something that
Mhm.
happened, it's over with, and now I'm moving on. And
Right.
people, when they haven't experienced any of these things, they don't know what to do.
Right.
They just like they're thinking, okay, so that was bad then, but so now they're going back to life as normal, when normal is not a word for you sometimes, because it's like, every day this changes. And
That's right.
fear, like with Benita, fear of, am
Mhm.
I going to make it through this? What's going to happen? Fear of, is this person going to do something to me where I can't even reach anybody anymore? Or or
Right.
that I'm going to do something to them because I'm trying to defend myself. All of that is fear and anxiety. Benita, I understand the anxiety from even the fear of going through some other things, and the anxiety is real. And once you
Yeah.
have a panic attack, you continue to have
You
them.
continue.
And it's really hard to explain when you're in it.
Yeah.
I had struggles with, you don't want to talk to people, you don't want to, it's just it's a strange feeling that you can't shake until you shake it. So now I do know that I can feel them when it's getting there. So great techniques. What I wanted to mention, I want you all to just share and take your time. I really appreciate it. I think I needed this too. But I wanted you all to share just some things that help you through, even now, what you feel like you need from those you're around. You're married, you have, your older children, what you need from them. Because I think sometimes people don't know what to do.
Right.
And I'm hoping that I can, at least this will help them to understand there may be something you can do. Just try this, but you're hearing it from the people who are going through it. So share a little bit, and we'll start with you, Elder Henrietta. Share with us some things that you think could help people that are, experiencing this, and it's something that happened a long time ago, but it's still so fresh, like today, right now.
Hmm. Well, it's fresh right now because I look at my grandchildren
Mm-hmm.
and see how things can go down through the generations.
Right.
I do, however, believe that it is important, it's very imperative that we can have that village around us that can
Mm-hmm.
support us in spite of what we might be going through. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter whether it's, as some people talk to me like, well, we got to be churchy. I'm like, no, 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 no. Be who you are. Just be sometimes. So you were talking about just sitting with someone. I do know I did a little stint with Cancer Society, Cancer CTA, Cancer Treatment Center of America. And one of the things that we were
Yeah.
instructed on was more or less learning how to just be still sometimes
Yeah.
with others. I don't
Yeah.
have to say a mumbling word, but just sit there. Be quiet. Allow your strength to rise up. And if you have to say something, make sure we're speaking, I'm going to call it positive affirmations
Positive.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're talking about positive self-care, not negative self-care.
Yeah.
So I try to encourage folks. Now, one thing I will put out there that I think is critical, number one is God, but number two, I think is imperative that we journal what's going
Journey.
on. Because
Absolutely.
I think journaling empties you when nobody else is around, but it helps you to see where you were and where you are right now.
I
And
love
that's where
that.
I'll leave it for right now. Okay.
I love
Yeah.
that. Journaling is, yeah, I think journaling can help you through a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
Even if it never goes anywhere past the paper, the pen and the paper, or writing letters. I've written many letters that ended up in a drawer somewhere till years later. And it actually refreshed me because once I read it years later, it was good to remember where I was, um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what I was feeling, and how I
Uh-huh.
got through that feeling. So thank you so much for that. Benita,
Sure.
share with
Yeah.
us a little bit about what people can do to help when, they get that diagnosis, what you need from your friends and family.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know?
Um, yeah, absolutely. One thing, definitely support, but just on a whole nother level. I like what Elder Henrietta said about just being quiet, basically, just coming and sitting and being quiet. Some things are just not for everybody to understand, and I think a lot of people don't know how to support because they understand it, and that's fine and cool. Just be there in support of that person. Like I said earlier, there's a lot that we cannot do for ourselves in that moment. So just
Mhm.
having somebody make bring you a meal, talk to you, make you laugh because you are feeling so down. One of the worst things, and I'll tell you what not to do because this is very important. One thing that you should not do, and it's so robotic, and I think people do it subconsciously, is when you hear that someone has just gotten a diagnosis, the first thing that people think to say is, "Oh, I lost my so and so to cancer. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
my best
Tell it
friend
in
died."
negative story.
that tears us apart, and it discourages us from fighting. It makes us think that we're going to die. We already think that when we first hear it, right?
Right.
But once our mind condition, and then that's all that people keep saying, it's like, oh my God, so stay away from that. Do not, that's
Right.
the worst thing you could tell a person going through cancer or anything. Oh, so I lost so and so. Don't
Right.
Don't do
um
that. Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah. That's
But
a good.
yeah,
That's, I think people, like you said, don't mean to, and but that's a good tip because I think without thinking, that's the first thing you want to
yep,
relate. And to know that, hey, that doesn't make us feel better.
no,
That's a good one.
no,
So thank you for
yeah,
that, because I mean, I'm sure we're all guilty of it, not thinking, and then you
right,
never, nobody tells you why would you say that. They just kind of fade to the back, and they don't want to talk to you anymore, and you don't know why.
right,
So yeah, that's very important. Thank you for
exactly,
that.
exactly.
Yeah, Tony, tell us a little bit
Yep.
about
Uh,
what you feel is helpful.
Um, from my personal experience, I think just having a safe space to speak about what's going on. And when I say
Hmm.
safe space, that space has to be safe in terms of no judgment. Because the
Exactly.
yes,
judgment come in where, well, what did you do? Where did you go? You know he doesn't like that. Why do you keep doing that? Or, well, why don't you just leave? Like, that's judging. Even if you
That's
don't
right.
think it's judging, it's judging. There could be numerous reasons why someone don't leave, and under
Right,
extreme circumstances, a survivor just can't pick up and leave. Leave and go where? Because now
right,
we are putting
Yeah.
other people in harm's way. So
right,
sometimes it's a process. Sometimes it's just
Hmm.
getting up the courage. Sometimes it's just they have to be ready to make that move. But just having a
right.
safe space, just being able to not be in a place of judgment. So many times after I've shared my story, I would have numerous inbox messages from people that would say, "You don't look like the type of woman that would allow a man to hit her."
That's
That's
right.
judging.
Right,
Domestic violence does not have a look. It could be
right,
me, it could be you, it could be my sister, it could be your neighbor, it could be the person you work with. Domestic violence doesn't have a look. And to say, well, you don't look like the type of woman. Well, what type of woman are you referring to?
right, right,
Hello.
Like, I
right,
don't have a bandana across my forehead that says hit me today. I'm in the mood. Like, that's
yeah,
just not the way it works.
right.
And
Yeah.
also just to have a little bit of understanding. I think some people they get caught up in what domestic violence looks like on TV. On TV,
yep,
Right,
you have 1 hour to show the drama.
right,
It's not every
Hmm.
day. It's not every hour on the hour. It's maybe once a week. It may be once a month.
That's
It
right.
may be
Thursday,
once every
Friday,
3 or 4
Saturday.
months. But the point of it
Hmm.
is, once you are abused that one time, you are now in a domestic violent relationship.
mm,
yep,
And domestic violence is now not just partner on partner, it's also family member on family member.
That's right.
So,
yeah,
domestic violence goes around a whole circle now. And I will admit that there are better laws today than there was back in the early 80s and the late 90s. But it's still a real prevalent issue.
right,
During COVID, a lot of us, we went to school to get away from our abuser. We went to work to get away from our abuser. We went
hmm,
and did chores to get away from our abuser. During COVID, now we are forced to be with our abuser 24/7, 365.
right.
The
Hmm.
domestic violence incidents rose 200% here in Georgia.
Wow,
right,
Mm.
well,
So it's still happening, and it's happening a lot, and it's happening a lot with our youth. I really think we need to look at,
Dangerous.
young girls, young guys, and figure out how we can help them channel their aggression and channel their anger. Because if you grew up
Exactly.
being beat
yeah,
as a child because you did something wrong, then your instinct is to beat somebody else when they do something wrong.
right. Or
yeah,
Now, to
take
what
it, or
extent you
take
take
it
it
if that
is
happens. Right,
debatable,
That's right.
right,
but
Hmm.
it happens, and it's too many young people that have this overgrowth of aggression and no nothing to do with it.
yeah,
right. Yeah. I mean, and that's a good lead into I definitely want to put something together and have some real conversations around that, because I think sometimes when everybody's so quiet, then it just nothing gets dealt with because people are making, as you all have mentioned, assumptions that everything is okay. And I think that's where people need to not always assume something's going on, but not always assume that nothing that
It's
there's
wrong.
not
Yeah.
anything going on. And
Mhm.
so just pay attention and be more diligent in paying attention to signs. If somebody you know is acting differently, it could be either one of the journeys that you all have gone through. But we tend to not ask questions because we've turned into kind of a society of just me, and it's not my business.
Mhm.
And back in the day, I think, it was that we weren't supposed to talk about these things, but then I always believed that, and I think what happens, because when I went through some things, I think what happens is we talk ourselves into believing that we're good, so,
Mhm.
and it's not that
I can
serious. I
relate.
know with some of the things I went through, I thought I've seen movies and this wasn't nothing like the movie. So, I mean, that's just, that I'm being drama.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
people will treat you like you're being drama, like, oh, it's not that serious or whatever. And I think people are hiding behind that because they're comparing it to the extreme.
Yeah.
And there's small, subtle things that happen that really can lead to something crazy. You think about how many stories you've heard about and you wonder how it got there. I know her, or I've been around her, and like you said, she doesn't look like, what does it look? It doesn't look like anything. It has no face. It's a
Yeah.
situation that you fall into based on a lot of times what you've experienced, what you deem is okay, what you deem as, well, I mean, I've seen it before, so it's not that big a deal. So I am actually down for
Yeah.
doing many shows that address this continuously. Because even when we're talking about domestic violence or breast cancer awareness, we don't talk about what people need to get that healing or to get that support. And you all gave some great tips on what to do and not to do, Benita. Because I think a lot of times we don't talk about what not to do.
Right.
Don't do that. That's not helpful to me. Asking people, why did you stay, is not helpful. So stop doing that. Asking people, well, trying to understand what you're going through right now. You don't have the energy to explain what you're going through. You just want to know that somebody is there to listen and not throw that judgment, as Tony mentioned too. So I appreciate you all. This was this, I know, has to be a hard thing to do, to share with people, but I do believe that people need to hear stories like this. I really
Yeah.
do. It was hard for me to share, my story,
Amen.
and I will share this when Benita just kind of said something out about writing about different subject matter. And it's strange how things hit you when it's that time, Elder Henrietta, when it's that time to just share it. And it's 40 years later. I've been in many conferences and I've talked to people and said what not to do and what not to say and all this kind of stuff. But when I got something from her saying, well, what did you want to write about? And, the subject matter of molestation was on the list. I usually go right past that. Like, yeah, that's my story, but other people have so many, bigger stories in this area. But this particular time, I said, I'm going to write about that. And it was so, it lifted me. It lifted a lot of stuff off of me. But for 40 years, I literally had to sit my mother down as a grown woman and say, this is what happened, so I had to tell her before the book came out that that's what happened, because I had not told anyone. But the weight that was lifted when I shared that story has made me want to do things like this, where that time was now, because somebody is going to hear that and needed it right now. So I thank y'all so much for just being open and honest and transparent. And before we leave, I want you all to share how people can connect with you. They might need an ear. They might need a friend. They might need somebody to talk about how they're going to get through this. And if you all are open, please share, your information and how they can get in touch with you so that we can kind of keep this ball of positivity rolling. and come back around to this, with more wonderful, inspiring stories. So, Henrietta, can you share with us how people can get in touch with you?
You can reach me at eldahenrietta@gmail.com.
Okay.
eldahenrietta@gmail.com, or my number is 301-651-0211. That
Thank
doesn't mean
you.
I live in Maryland.
Right? That's true, right? And share with us how we can get in touch with you for those who might need, just need a ear.
Did you say me, Tony?
Oh,
Tony.
Tony. Okay, I'm sorry, we blinked out. I'm under the Loopy Chick across all social media, Instagram, Twitter, as well as Facebook. You can just search the Loopy Chick, and my DM and inbox is always open. And my email is theloopychick@gmail.com.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And
Nice.
Dr. Benita.
Yes, yes. You can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram as Dr. Bonita Parker. You can also reach out to me via email at drbonitaparker@gmail.com or bonita@bonitaparker.com. Also, be sure to check out the foundation, hopeforpinkfoundation.org. Hope
Yes.
for foundation.org, and learn all about our foundation and what we do and all the initiatives that we're putting in place.
Thank y'all so much for everything you all do for everybody else. And I'm just going to say this to you all and to everyone out there that I am here if you all ever need me. And I've always, tried to let people know that. And I never know how I can be helpful, but sometimes people just want to hear that. I mean, even as somebody who sees myself as strong, sometimes as somebody said something to me the other day, and what I responded and said was, I rarely hear that. I shouldn't say never. I rarely hear that from people, and it meant the world to me. But a lot of times, strong people don't want to tell you that they need to hear that stuff. So,
Absolutely.
I got one more comment, if you don't mind. I just
absolutely.
want to end. I didn't end my story properly.
Okay.
After some years, you're talking about 10, 15 years, guess what God did? He had finished fashioning the man who loves me like I've never been loved before.
Amen. 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 Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that was it.
That's a wonderful way to end that.
Yes.
And that's some positive inspiration to let people know that it ain't over. It ain't
That's
over.
right.
And he knows everything. So he knows when to send you what you need, when you need it. So thank y'all. This blessed me so much. And I appreciate you all. Camden, did you want to say goodbye to everybody? Because she's starting to he's getting a little sleepy, I guess. But thank y'all so much. And I'll see you all next Thursday on Lunchin 7 to 8. Please tune in every Thursday. I appreciate you all. And we'll see you all again soon too.
Yes.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you. Bye-bye.